Okay, so one thing I didn't do justice for the last episode was mention how badass Shoto's ability looked in finally beating Toya. I still think that his original defeat against Dabi in his own fucking episode was better in terms of poeticness. But this one's still fine. I won't diss this one. This one they did really well. And now for the actual episode, which does contain an interesting tidbit. Toga seeing her friend Dabi/Toya get defeated. And since she's still suffering from Twice's death, yeah, this is probably not a good thing. Because she's probably filled with sadness, which obviously Sad Man's Parade is enhanced. And she's probably way more murder hungry for some heroes. And it's interesting because we see Ochako and the others just pinned down. Like, they're just completely knocked down. And I will just say, the fighting is still... It's actually way more impressive what Studio Bones has been doing. Because there's like a shit ton of characters here. And, well, a shit ton of Twice clones. And they're doing a good job of showing just how absurdly big this whole thing is. And we get into, like, the fighting and all this and that. I'll cover it after we cover the Toga backstory, which does show us a little more about how Toga was suppressed. Like, her family just viewed her as a monster and wanted to reform her, but in reality, that's just her quirk. And a lot of misconceptions about that she probably didn't kill the bird and that they blamed it on her because she just looked creepy, which, once again, I will say this, the parents are pieces of shit. They create the monster similar to how Shigaraki's dad is the reason Shigaraki went all fucking murder hungry for him the second he needed help, and instead he gets hit. So what do you think a child's gonna do? He's gonna fucking lose it after a while. And Toga is the same. Like, after so long of being suppressed and society suppressing her, like, yeah, she was gonna end up having a breaking point. And, well, she broke. Which ties into the whole Ochako holding her own feelings that I mentioned last season. And it's just insanely well done, Toga. It's... Look, I know people are gonna give me shit, but Toga's is way more sad than Dabi's for one sake alone. Toga had no real way of recovering. Unlike with Dabi, where he had his brother and sister to sort of be a slight recovery, and the mother to a degree, even though he ignored her in a different sense. His thing is more he wanted to just be like his dad, yada yada yada. Toga just wants to be Toga, and they didn't let her. Her parents didn't let her, society didn't let her. Literally everything was, you're not gonna be who you want. You need to be this. And it shows an interesting thing on that, suppression. Suppressing someone's true self and eventually causing them to go the wrong path. So yeah, obviously, Toga does not like the heroes, because obviously Hawks having a trigger kill hungry on Twice, and obviously flashback to him saying, we need to kill him now. It's like, that's not hero-like, let's be real. And yeah, we get everyone fighting Toga, with Ochako being the main one who can realistically handle this, because her ability of gravity has expanded for sure. Like, we got her quirk upgraded in this episode, so now she can handle like an area of gravity, which is useful for like this particular problem. And yeah, I liked a few things. My favorite thing was Suyu telling Toga that she was wrong about how she believed that heroes had to follow rules. That if you didn't follow the rules, that you were obviously doing something wrong. Which is interesting because this goes back to a season 3 thing, that she was obviously mad at Deku and his little group that went to help Bakugo because, you know, it's against the rules, and that she felt bad that they essentially were a key role in getting Bakugo out of there and all this and that. But she has learned a lot since then, and I really like this little growth, as well as saying, look, it's probably easier to capture you or kill you, essentially, because, you know, those two are the main options. but trying to get to you through talking is even harder. That Ochako wants to talk to her, wants to reach for her. And that is something I really, really like. It emphasizes Ochako's thing that she wants to reach people. It's not just she wants to reach the the civilians, or beat the bad guys, but she also wants to be there for the heroes. That the heroes need also heroes. And that the villains might just need someone to reach out for them. So Ochako taking that extra leap, talking to her, doing everything she can to reach out, despite how, Toga stabbing her and still gunning to kill her. It took a bit before finally it got through to Toga. Like, Toga did not want it to hear at first, but it took Ochako's persistence and the right words to finally not only get to her, but to show that she accepts Toga, that she finally understands what Toga needs, and it just needs someone to truly value her for who she is. And this actually brings up something, like, I really love the League of Villains scene. I feel like it's so natural with these characters talking amongst themselves. And what makes it interesting is about the villain name for Himiko Toga. Like, she didn't really pick a villain name, not because she views them as unneeded or unnecessary. It's because that's not what she wants. A villain name means that you now have to follow under this specific thing, which goes into the whole, she was Himiko Toga, the good girl, the quote unquote, and that wasn't who she was. And a villain name is just putting another label to that. So she wants to be Himiko Toga, her real name, showing she's being her true self. Like Shigaraki being a different case. But it is still very interesting how this all ties in together. With Ochako even saying, I'll offer you my blood, and we see like a depiction of that, of just how much it took before she finally reached this girl that was sad, broken, that all she really needed was just someone to get to her, which does work, because she's had a few times where she could have killed Ochako. Ochako's just letting herself possibly be killed, and yeah, she finally got through to Toga, and just Toga asked if she's cute, and yeah, with that smile, like, Ochako calls her the cutest, and yeah, that is, like, this broke through Toga enough to where all the Twice clones are finally defeated. And look, I'll say this, if Dabi being defeated the first time was high, second time is slightly lower only because it's redundant that he had to be defeated twice in one arc, and this one is probably the highest one, as well as the fact that Ochako reached out and saved her without necessarily beating the fuck out of her. It was more through words. That words can also get through people, which, I mean, I feel like Toga was the natural one to be saved like this, but it's not a bad thing, because the execution was done absolutely well. So this episode is a 10 out of 10. Like, I think this is showing us Ochako's potential, and I really just like Ochako. Like, I've seen a lot of things of just dissing her because, you know, she's the love interest, yada, yada, yada. But there's more to her, and this is it. This is the more to her story. Her being able to be there and save people, not by beating them per se. That's one way of doing it, but by reaching their hearts.